page, please like and share the page so that we can continue to share this information with others. Again, thank you from the Let's Talk Business crew to my admin who's always behind the scenes. Thank you, Ricky. We're waiting for Dr. Davis to come on, but who we have first is the first person that signed on, Sydney. Sydney Moore, Business Plans Plus. We have some exciting news to share with you. But let's say hello to Sydney first. Hey, Sydney, how are you doing?
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantabulous. Word my daughter made up. I'm sure somebody else made it up. But fantabulous. Thank you so much. I know you are at an event. One of the things about the podcasters here on Let's Talk Business, they're super, super busy people, and they're always in demand. So Sydney, we'll come back to you in just a moment, you and Rodney Jones. But I see that we have Dr. Shanae V. Davis on, who has been with us from the very beginning. And Dr. Davis, I got to give out 4 get readies today. Who has been with us for each year. But let me say this to you, to my sister. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Yes, Cheryl, I've joined the club of 28, no longer 25. So I really do appreciate that shout out.
Oh, but I was 28. So,
I've joined the club of 28.
And that means I moved.
Well, you can be 29.
Okay, I'll be 29. I'll just go ahead and be 30. The Black Pages is turning 30, so I'll be 30.
All right.
Listen, happy birthday to you. We're looking forward to some things. We've been together on so many different projects and missions and excursions, and oh my goodness, we go to so many different events supporting organizations in the community. I think we've got 2 this week. But let me take this opportunity to say thank you for joining us. Thank you to Your Best You. We've been blessed to have Moffitt Cancer Center come and support our medical segment of the show. Tell us, what has been most rewarding for you to be on this podcast with us, and your favorite interviews?
Okay. Thank you, Cheryl, for considering me for medical insight for our community. I think it's really important, particularly for minority communities, to be able to receive information at a space and that meets them where they are. To be able to communicate this information in a way that's understandable, particularly with chronic disease, is important because chronic disease is not managed in the office. It's actually managed in between visits. So patients need, or patients, but members of our community need that instruction how to live their lives, how to not incur the complications of disease, albeit obesity, high blood pressure, heart failure, skin conditions, mental health conditions. How do they sustain the gains from the visit and move forward to the next visit with their healthcare providers? Also, our listeners have learned if there is an issue that they are uncertain on where to go, or if there is a compromise in access to care, they've learned about federal health community centers, and the reason, federally qualified health centers, and the reason that's important is because they're able to give no cost to low cost care, or on a sliding scale. This way, you can continue to approach healthcare in a preventive manner versus in a reactive manner, which basically you're treating disease versus preventing the disease. With health disparities being as they are in our communities, most of the times that's because of the social determinants that we've just begun to highlight. When you have a living area that's close to pollution, that's close to noise, that doesn't have opportunities for quick access to nutrition foods, or safe access to areas that you can exercise in, all related to preventive practices. It makes a difference in our incidence and in the prevalence of disease states in our community. So for those reasons, being able to reach the community of minorities in our area and beyond our area, I'm very grateful to have been included in the broadcast for the past 4 years. Now, on to what shows that I've enjoyed most. More recently, I've enjoyed our connection with the American Heart Association, where we connected with Miss Kiana Cressman. She is the executive director of the Heart Association. Because of the show and the connection that we made over a year ago, she was able to glean the impact and get an impression of how we connect with our community, again, from Tampa and beyond. Our messaging matters. As a result of that show, she was able to see this and also nominate you, Sherryl, for this Woman of Impact distinction that comes about in essentially in a debutante fashion. These women selected to represent their communities and raise funds for the Heart Associations are literally just prominent people in our community that can spread the word, give them an impression on how to direct their funds, and also give them an impression on areas that they need to focus on. For the very first time, an African American or a woman of color has been nominated in the Tampa Bay area, and Sherryl J. Cusseaux was the first. Because of DSI, because of this show, because of her large community of influence. I am very fortunate to be a part of that likewise. And until April, what's the date in April?
April 6th, girl.
April 6th, we're going to be out there hustling for this dollar to bring more attention to the African-American community here in town, to bring more resources and more information that meets our needs in the way they need to be met and is received in the way that makes an impact. So I, again, I'm really grateful to be a part of the team, Sherryl.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you so much. I echo everything that you have said. That Go Red luncheon, that you were there, you're so busy. You were in 2 places at one time. I don't even know how you did it. 3 places, but just so that people will know how active we are in the community. Tell us just a little bit, how did you pull that off? The American Heart Association, the diabetes workshop that you attended, and you were at the refinery.
Yeah.
Do you have a twin?
I wish I did, actually. But that day was extraordinary, so extraordinary and so important, not just to your best you, but, to community visibility overall of the healthcare professionals that look like the people that we are caring for. They got to know that we are out there.
Yes.
The first event was the Heart Association. I just basically canceled patients that day. The Heart Association's luncheon, that was the most interesting event of chicken salad and water and cookies and strawberries that I've ever been to for the level of fundraising that we had achieved.
I'm trying to keep my composure, girl.
Low-key shade there, but what was most important about the event was the networking that went on. We were able to see who was in the fight for heart disease awareness. We were able to emphasize that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of Black people, for African Americans, despite all the new strides that have been made in terms of medication, in terms of information on prevention, exercise programs that are cardiovascular focused, the strong emphasis on inclusion of minorities and African Americans in clinical trials for greater representation in the outcomes and for indications. We were able to talk about all of that. One key connection that I made was the CEO of the Baycare Center in St. Pete. I had met her at it was a fundraiser for the Holocaust Museum, literally the weekend prior. So, I mean, just the vast number of stakeholders and influence in the Tampa Bay area for heart disease was, very enlightening to see how those degrees of separation are actually smaller than we think. So the heart disease luncheon was the first. The second was an update through the American Diabetes Association for the clinical guidelines and practices that inform the direction of our care as diabetologists for the year. Most don't know that the American Diabetes Association literally updates the standards of care every year between December and January. And there are real changes that happen, more significant this time around than previous years, because the inclusion of social determinants of health was a big part. Not many of us that used to be CDE, certified diabetes educators, we're now called certified diabetes care and education specialists. They're not a number of us that look like the population that we are to represent, that we are to educate. And when you get education from your diabetes educator that is not culturally sensitive, a lot of us just sit there and nod just to get literally out of the class. Do we go home and make, cauliflower casserole? Do we, eat no-fat cheese? Do we, from other cultures, do you use whole wheat tortillas? No. No. So how to incorporate, those things that are in a manner that's culturally sensitive, so that you get more adherence, so that you have more positive outcomes, and you're more willing to make those necessary behavioral changes. The way you convey these messages to the population that you're seeking impact upon, it absolutely matters. That also addressed was the shortage of these medications, the GLP-1 receptor agonists like Ozempic, and the new one, Mounjaro, which is a dual medications, whereas that hormone plus is GLP-1 and GIP. I know I'm like speaking Mandarin right now, but with these medications, there hasn't even been advertisements for some of them, but people are seeing them on TikTok. But what's absolutely phenomenal about the latter that I mentioned, it's sort of like a a gastric bypass in a pen. The data shows that and it's still in the clinical trials for weight loss, but the data shows that in non-diabetics, you can lose in excess of 40 pounds with just the pen, the pen. Now that is not, on top of, well, it is on top of, some lifestyle, inclusion, but to date, prior to this combined agent, you'd see something like 16, 18, 20 pound is a standard weight loss, just as a side effect of what it typically does. Most received an indication for type 2 diabetes management first, but we've also received follow-up because they've really been, out for quite some time. There's heart protection associated, and they're looking into the benefits to reducing liver fat. So good stuff comes from this category of medicines. Though it's been out for more than 10 years, the category, Hollywood's caught up, and people that have the disposable income to just get it anyway, people are using those agents for weight loss, and it has affected supply for persons with diabetes that absolutely need them. Last, we went to the refinery exchange. This is an absolute jewel and gem to the professional, to Black professionals. In our community. It's a great opportunity for networking. It's put on by Mr. Gary Hartfield, a serial entrepreneur in the area that has an amazing capacity for reaching people, again, where they are, in a way that mentors business owners. It mentors prospective business owners. It encourages members of the community to be more savvy about voting, to be more savvy about their finances, and to come other topics that are important to us, to bring us up to speed with other demographics in Tampa.
Absolutely.
The need to know, the why to know, and the people to connect with, to help was what the refinery was about. So for that reason and more community visibility, I close my practice for the day so I can rip and run through all that stuff.
You did. You had a full day. Thank you so much. And thank you for representing us at the refinery, because we were doing the American Heart Association Woman of Impact activities, but we were over there in Lakeland having fun at the Magic Game. As a matter of fact, some of our other co-hosts were over there too. Rodney Jones. I miss Rodney, but I did see Sydney, but the business was represented. Dr. Davis?
Yes, so these past 4 years have been an absolute joy. Not to monopolize the time here. I love working with you, Cheryl, and I love you, and to be a part of your Woman of Impact to raise funds for Go Red, for the American Heart Association, to tap my small circle of influence with your big circle of influence. It's a privilege. It's a privilege and a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And really, I'm blessed to have you as my sister, as my friend, as my co-host, and all of the other great things. We're looking forward to celebrating your birthday as well. Let me do this while we have Diva J and we have Rodney here. You're here in touch. We can't see you, but we know you're there. Listen, did you guys remember to bring your cups? See, I've been inducted into the American Heart Association Circle of Red. Let me see. Yeah, Circle of Red Society. So, Dr. Davis, I guess what is that? Harmless harvest
of the cup in my heart, my coconut water.
Oh, well, you know what? I take your advice, so I do lemon water.
Okay,
so,
beautiful,
listen,
beautiful.
Raise whatever you have. I think Rodney ran to go and get something to raise.
I'm holding my cup of tea.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I know Diva J she's off camera, but she's there. Listen, this is what we want. If you're listening in and tuning in, grab your cup as well. See, I knew he went. He's ready.
All right.
Wait, is that lemon water or just regular water?
It doesn't matter. Libation.
It's absolutely lemon water.
Okay, then Dr. Davis appreciates that. Listen, cheers to 4 years. Woo, woo,
Cheers.
to all of you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bitter lemon water.
That's
But
great
it's
for your
good.
metabolism.
But it's good for the body.
Absolutely.
So thankful. And again, thank you to In Touch News and to DJ CEO for encouraging us and creating this platform for us. We're so appreciative. We're going to talk about some favorite shows, but since Dr. Davis was talking about the American Heart Association, we have a phenomenal team, Rodney Jones, that is supporting the Woman of Impact Go Red campaign. Phenomenal. If you go to my webpage, you'll see that I mentioned that I ran a marathon, 26.2 miles, in honor of both my grandmothers who lost their lives to cardiovascular disease, and then to a cardiovascular survivor, Mrs. Mary Jones, who's still with us today. And that's why for this nomination, I decided to raise a marathon of awareness, a marathon of people, and a marathon of funds. And I must tell you, the support has been phenomenal. Since it's a blind competition, we won't talk about numbers, but boy, come April the 6th, we'll be able to shop those numbers out, because the goal was to use the platform and make a substantial impact, and to let the American Heart Association and our community know that representation matters. Having me in that position, having 3 other women in that position who are working their circle of influence, their circle of friends, to be able to bring the necessary funds needed for research, but particularly African Americans, where heart disease, the #1 killer.
Absolutely.
above all cancers, all of them combined together. Nothing affects us the way cardiovascular disease does. And more so women. Every 80 seconds, a woman has a heart attack. Startling numbers, scary numbers. We need to have the conversation. Allowing us to be able to do this and talk about it is a great thing. You'll see, we actually got to do a video yesterday with Thaddeus Bullock. Thank you, my friend, AKA Titus O'Neill. He has the Slide Magnet School, which now an academy has been named after him, the Thaddeus Bullock Academy. And we were over there shooting that video to, again, promote the importance of having a conversation about cardiovascular disease. Who knew when I started the show 4 years ago that it would affect me so personally and that of my husband? But thank God he's still here today. That being said, one of our ambassadors, and we have quite a few, we have a marathon of ambassadors, but Ricky, there's one stayed at the top tier of our fundraising leaderboard, Rodney Jones. She was a powerhouse. We lost her, a sufferer of cardiovascular disease. Her daughter was on the show just last week, Dr. Sabrina Nelson Winters, and she was talking about congestive heart failure. She was talking about pulmonary hypertension. She was talking about what her mom was going through as a result of this. And that's why she wanted to be a part of the team to support the American Heart Association, to support the Women of Impact. And each of those ladies, Dr. Davis, Jeanette Diva J. Horde, Dr. Sabrina, and others, they are ambassadors. And we lost our ambassador. May she forever rest in peace. And that's Mrs. Luveda Nelson. Just an amazing woman, and many know her because of her involvement with Florida A&M University, an alumni. She was the president of the Alumni Association for the Middleton High School alumni, raised tons of money with the Alumni Association for scholarships, and actually moved me and my family to create the first James and Frances Jennings Scholarship for the Middleton alumni family. My parents both were high school sweethearts at Middleton High School. And a couple of my siblings got to attend there. But people like Luveda Nelson, whose light will always, always shine brightly because of her love for humankind, her love for mankind, her love for wanting to do for others. Rest in heaven. And as we continue to pray and offer our condolences to the Nelson, Winters, Phylon family. Yes. God bless us for giving such an amazing woman. So having said that and created this platform, we're talking about the American Heart Association. We're going to hear from Diva J. We actually have this week's campaign. And let me back up for a second, because we were talking about the American Heart Association. Each week there's an activity to get the community engaged into heart health challenges. Last week, it was Know Your Numbers. Dr. Davis has been telling us from day one, know your numbers, know your blood pressure, know your diastolic, your systolic, understand the importance of those numbers and what those ranges mean. Know your A1C, know your good and your bad cholesterol. These are things that and I see she's back on, but from day one, Dr. Davis, you've consistently taught us the importance of knowing your numbers. And that's just so very, very important. We didn't get you to, and I want to do this while you're back on, you didn't get to tell us your favorite show. I'm thankful for your mentor that came on a couple of times and got us through the pandemic.
So my favorite show this year was absolutely the Heart, within the year of February, of course, was Miss Cressman from the Heart Association. She got the ball rolling. However, I would be remiss, and thank you so much for bringing that up, if we did not mention Dr. James Gavin. Yes. Dr. Gavin is the first African-American, I guess it's Black History Month as well. So
it is
the first African-American to be the president of the American Diabetes Association. He is an absolute giant when it comes to diabetes. He's also an international diabetes care consultant. He's from Mobile, Alabama. He's an HBCU graduate. He got his PhD at Emory University before he had his MD from Duke. He is taught all over the nation in PWIs, in medical school. And at one point, he was actually the dean of the Morehouse School of Medicine. So he's in his 70s, but he's still going strong. He is highly respected, highly sought after as a speaker, to the point where some of these newer medications that I spoke of earlier that have cross condition benefit. Some single agents, as I mentioned, before, they treat diabetes, they treat heart disease, they help kidney disease, they help with weight reduction, which is beneficial to your behavioral change. He encourages those, and again, in this, representation matters. When he comes to town to talk about one of these medicines, we in diabetes, we know all of this. We say this every day over and over, but literally just because he's speaking, it's a who's who in the room of diabetes care professionals. So on the couple of Novembers that we've had him on a couple of the minority disease awareness month.
Yes.
In April, we've had him on to educate us and to share with us his great presence. He's just great to listen to because he sings, he's a prolific speaker, and he's reasonable to look at his age.
And we got to meet him online, but I actually got to meet him in person.
That's
why networking is so important, because I got to meet him at the refinery,
at the
second refinery.
The second refinery,
So
absolutely.
let's do this. Let's segue again. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis, to Diva J. Diva J is patiently waiting for us. She's here. You can see her beautiful picture. Diva J, are you ready to come on? Can you hear us? Okay. She will. She'll let us know. Okay, great, great. Diva J, happy 4th anniversary. Catch the show. That's all up in your business brand.
I am happy that I can hop on, and I apologize that my camera isn't on, but I am completely under the weather today. But I certainly could not miss out on this celebration. I've canceled everything else in my day, which is a first in my life, but I would not cancel this, because this, being a part of this team and being a part of this show, and Ms. Cusseaux, you've invested in my life. So I certainly am excited to just be in the midst of greatness. And I can't believe it's been 4 years. They say time flies when you're having fun. And this has certainly been a fun journey for me. And you talked about what was the favorite show. Well, yes. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite show, but I will say one of the ones that I truly enjoyed was when we had our doula.
Yes.
And the reason I think that one is memorable for me is because I'm the mom of 2 young boys, a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, and my pregnancy experience were certainly experiences. And so just to see another woman of color there and be willing to be alongside other mothers, with an emphasis of mothers of color, to support us through such an important journey in our lives. It just felt good. And so that is one of our episodes that always sticks out to me, because I think it's so important.
Awesome. Shout out to Teresa Jennings, Doulas for Life.
Yes.
And the team of amazing women. And this show was also instrumental in helping her. She's even thinking now about doing a podcast, and that's just phenomenal. And we've had some spinoff shows as a result of Let's Talk Business. And that means we're doing what we're supposed to do. And that's a beautiful thing. So I'm looking forward to her jumpstarting her podcast and all that she is doing for the mothers that's out there. And we'll get to participate in that, because one of the activities for the American Heart Association is maternal awareness. And we will be calling on you young mothers to have the conversations about it, because oftentimes you have to deal with preeclampsia, and that's very, very important. And sometimes it can go on for longer periods of time. before childbirth, after childbirth, but it's important because it affects the cardiovascular system. So I thank you. I know you're not feeling well, so we're going to excuse you, but thank you for just taking the time to come on and say hello. And imagine hearing that from you, the brand guru of our team. And if Teresa isn't listening, she will definitely catch the replay. But that's what we need to do. Encourage one another in our businesses and then collaborate with them when and where we can. Thank you so much, Diva J. Salute to you, because you were right there. And I must say this because he's also a great supporter. We talked about the refinery. You heard Dr. Davis talk about Gary Hartfield with the refinery.
Mhm.
And Diva J, you've been there with him, supporting the very first one, and to have him come back and say, yes, I support the American Heart Association Woman of Impact. And that's just a beautiful thing. And that's seeing how we support each other wholeheartedly. So thank you. Thank you so much, Diva J.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too. So super excited because we talked about week number 1. That was the blueprint. Our show started, and for 3 years we were there with Derek Blue, who it was Catch the Show that will be all up in your blueprint business. And I wanted to keep something along the same lines. Congratulations to you, Derek Blue. God bless you on the next chapter and trajectory of your life. Coming in now to fill the podcaster slot for the first hour of our show is Mr. Rodney Jones of Business Plans Plus. So he will be giving us the business plan for our businesses in the year 2023, and with one of his officers, Miss Sydney Moore. She was on earlier, but I give the mic to you, sir.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you. And by the way, congratulations to you on the years of contributions that you've made to this community, not only the business community, but the community in general. You've made this environment a better place to live by keeping people informed and keeping people motivated. And for that, I again toast and applaud and laud everything that you've done in this community. So thank you very much. And oh, by the way, to Diva J, please get better. We're wishing you a speedy recovery. And for Dr. Davis, I couldn't write notes fast enough. Thank you for being an asset to this community and sharing information in this community that is sorely needed. So thank you. I'd like to add, if I can, the following. This is kind of interesting, Doctor. My mother, I grew up in Washington, D.C. My mother worked at Howard University. And the interesting thing about that is that my mother working at Howard University worked for the leading cardiologist. He was the head of cardiology at the university. His name was Dr. Charles Curry. And my mother worked for him for almost 20 years as part of what originally was Freedman's Hospital, and then turned into Howard University Hospital. So I had a big smile on my face as I heard you talking about some of the issues as it relates to the issue that heart disease and how that plagues our African American community. So thank you for everything that you've done to this point. Thank you for all the things that you have planned for the future as well in this community. We really appreciate that.
Oh man, that's awesome. And so welcome to the show, Rodney Jones. What would you like to share, and what are some of your expectations? And let me just tell our radio listening audience, and please like and share this post. You want to get to meet the co-hosts of this show, Let's Talk Business. He's coming in. They will launch their first podcast with us on next Wednesday, the first Wednesday. We call it the first hour of the show. There are 4 hours of the show starting next week. And you're going to get to hear from some of his business partners, from some of his clients, about the importance of, Dr. Davis says, know your numbers. Rodney Jones says, have a business plan. have a contingency plan, and he
Yeah.
covers all of it. Rodney, what say you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting because the interesting dynamic and the parallel is for business owners, just as it is with one's health, that you have to know your numbers. The same thing with the health of your business. It's really, really critical that one really, really understands and knows their numbers. I can't tell you, and this is not a criticism, it's just an observation. I can't tell you the number of business people who are up and running their business that cannot explain to me the details of their income statement, that cannot explain to me about profit and loss, about cash flow, those kinds of things. So the good news is that we'll have an opportunity and where people, it's one thing to hear it from the consultant and the industry leader. It's another thing to hear the same information from your peers. So we're excited about bringing in a plethora of guests from a number of different industries that can talk about their experiences, why it's important for them to know the numbers, to kind of add some context to that. I mean, we're going to have guests on, folks that have small businesses, brick and mortar places like bakeries, to people that have online mail order businesses, merchandise businesses, commercial cleaning services, construction companies, insurance companies, just a plethora of our 250 clients that we've served over the last 7 years. So there's a bunch of information that we want them to share from a been there, done that perspective that I really, really think the audience will find extremely, extremely useful. We're excited.
Well, listen, I've got a business owner that's coming up, and we are going to allow you to meet him virtually. But let me tell you, because the American Heart Association and the Woman of Impact Award is so important, we're using this platform to also bring awareness. But from the show's perspective, for our 4th anniversary, I want you to know, not just 4 years, but we've had over 200 plus guests on our show. That's a lot of individuals, a lot of experts, a lot of movers and shakers in the community sharing information that's beneficial to our community. We ask the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how, particularly when it comes to starting your business. And you'll get to share that as you shared a little bit when we had you on a couple of times as a guest.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to meeting this myriad group of people that you're going to be bringing in to share with us. But my favorites, show on the go. Every 5th Wednesday, we would try to take the show away from the studio, or since the pandemic, away from Zoom, and we would do a show on the go.
Yes.
Just a phenomenal way to go into someone's business and share the business. And we get to walk in and see what their business is all about, see what their products and services are, show on the go. My favorite shows, that's really, really hard, but I've got to give a shout out to Dr. Zanona Clayton. She wrote a book called We're Still Marching. When she came here, she was 88 years old. She was one of the first guests to call in and do an interview on our show. She was in Atlanta, but she called in. She wanted to support the show, and she was so excited. But she walked us through that experience of working with and being alongside Dr. King all the way up to the very end and beyond. Shout out to you. Love you, Dr. Zanona Clayton. And I've got to pivot because it's Black History Month. Next month is Women's History Month, or Her Story. And that would be Dr. Gladys Brown West, one of the pivotal founders. We call her the 4th hidden figure of the GPS. And she's been on our show a couple of times. And I'm telling you, these are authors. They have great books. Google them, go to their websites. They're on Amazon. Purchase the books and gift the books when and where you can. But those were 2 of my favorites. I'm excited today. Sal, get ready. You're about to come live on camera. One of the things with the American Heart Association what they do in our community is partner with other companies to help bring awareness to cardiovascular disease. And that covers the gamut from strokes to heart attacks. And it's important to know what things can we do to help save a life. How can we change those numbers to where every 80 seconds a woman is having a heart attack? And that's what they're looking to do now, is put more money into research for women to understand that data and find out what they can use with that data. That's why we had Kiana Cressman on the show a year ago. We had her back on this year. Sal, are you ready? If you will unmute, I'm going to share a little about this young, dynamic individual. And listen, let me tell you, everybody needs to get to know Mr. Celso Fidel, and it's spelled C-E-L-S-O, and last name Fidel. He is the current Chief Operating Manager at CPR Express. And I'm going to spell it CPRX-PRESS, because don't be like me and try to put an E in there for Express, because he'll never get your information. And they just have one goal. The main goal is to teach CPR to not only to the medical professionals, Dr. Davis, but also to people who matter the most. That's all of us. Does not matter the age. And let me tell you, CPR, if you've got your certification, check the date. It expires. And so you need to make sure that you're staying up to date with that information. They aim to do this in a fun, interactive way, which presents the opportunity to both learn and enjoy the CPR classes. Welcome to this historical anniversary show, Sal.
Thank you so much. I cannot say how blessed I am to be here. This is such a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so happy that you reached out and you want to learn more. I love to talk about CPR. I love to push it. I love to educate people. It's very important that people know at home. A lot of these emergencies, especially with women, they happen at home. They don't happen in the convenience of a hospital. So it's very important that people at home know how to do CPR.
That is a great statistic that you've shared with us. Mm-hmm. So we're making this appeal. Everyone in a home needs to know CPR. I think I was about 16 when I took my first CPR class, and that's because I was volunteering to be a candy stripe at the hospital, and there were just some things we needed to know, and which is not probably, but it was one of the reasons that led me into nursing and into the healthcare field. But that being said, I like that statistic. We need to come back to it because that's important. We have to take responsibility. We as consumers and as family members have to take responsibility and ask who in the house, we teach everybody what's the plan of action if there's a fire, what happens, where's a fire extinguisher, and you have to learn what is it, RAPS, RAPS, and those are things you have to know. In dealing with the American Heart Association, what's the acronym for FAST, F-A-S-T? Those are things you need to know so that you can pay attention to the warning signs. But to hear you say it happens at home. Ooh. So that being said, one of the things we do, Sal, on the show is ask the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. How did you get into this business, young man?
Yeah, of course. So my partner, his name is Yanko. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. He's actually doing
Yanko.
Right, everybody say hello. So he's actually doing a CPR class in Palm Harbor right now as we speak. He originally, his story, he started out doing CPR one-on-ones for anybody that needed to be certified in your local Barnes and Noble.
Wow.
Just a bag and a mannequin. And so he reached out to me 2 years ago, and he said, listen, I want to turn this into something real. I want to make an office. I want to start bigger outreach. And my profession beforehand was technology. I knew how to build websites. I knew how to manage social media. I knew how to create outreach. And we got together. We put both of our expertise, and now we're looking at 3 offices and we're expanding, and we want to reach more and more people. And so that's
Congratulations. That is phenomenal. Congratulations. 3 offices. I know I'll be attending one of them so that I can update my CPR training. And that being said, because yesterday you were crazy busy, you have a partnership. Tell us a little bit about the American Heart Association, the American Red Cross, and you were also right there at the Go Red luncheon last Friday. So tell us how that all came about.
Yeah, of course. So what happened was it was a lot of outreach. It was a lot of communicating with American Heart. We wanted to put ourselves on the table. Listen, use us for anything. Anything. We don't care about money. We will show up to a park and we will teach 100 people how to do only CPR, right? And as you know, Kiani, we met Kiani a while ago, maybe about a year or 2 ago, when we originally started really breaking into the American Heart. And right before the luncheon, there was an event happening on News Channel 10 in St. Petersburg.
Yes.
Yeah, where they were teaching hands-only CPR. So that nice, handsome gentleman that was on the TV, that is my partner Yanko. They reached out to us and they were like, listen, you guys have always wanted to be part of the community. You've always wanted to extend your hand and always wanted to have a voice. And we have this amazing opportunity coming up and we would love for you guys to, take charge. So we visited their office in St. Petersburg, had a great talk with Kiani and another gentleman named Johnny. And after that, she was like, hey, we've got this luncheon coming up and we would love for you guys to be there. And that's how it really came about. And after that, yesterday, I was very crazy busy. I know I wanted to sit down and reach out to you. And I had another event for American Heart in St. Petersburg, actually.
It's all
So
good.
we work with them extensively. We want to be out in the community and, however many people we can get in the chairs, and it doesn't have to be medical professionals. The people yesterday were not medical professionals. They were normal people who were just purely concerned for their family at home. And yeah, that's our expertise. That's our focus.
That's your expertise and that's your focus. And so I asked the question, how can people reach out to you? Whether it's a business owner that wants you to come in and teach a class to their employees, whether it's a church that wants you to come and teach a class to the church, to the ministries, whether it's organizations, it could be coming to Your Best You or her staff. How do we get in touch with you, Sal?
Yeah, I have a plethora of options. I have a website, cprexpress.com, just exactly how you spelled it, cprexpress.com, right?
Express.
Yep. I've got my email, info@CPR Express, Celso@CPR Express, whichever one. And listen, I know I'm young. I know I look young. I grew up old school. In fact, it's funny. Rodney was mentioning about Howard. I grew up extensively with my uncles and my aunt, and they had a big part in my upbringing. And I'm originally from New Jersey, and they all attended Howard. One of my uncles is a doctor, a urologist out in Atlanta who graduated from Howard. So I resonate with Howard as well. But call me old school, and a good phone call would work too. The business phone goes straight to me. I'm the beautiful voice that answers it. So I'm willing to discuss whatever and make anything work.
Well, I thank you so much for that. And I know Rodney is super, super excited. And Rodney, go ahead and make that introduction to him so that the two of you can collaborate on a project together. And I know Dr. Davis wants to say something to you, Sal, as well, because what you all are doing is so very, very important. CPR can save a life. Mm-hmm. Rodney?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the comments. And again, it's a privilege to be on here with you and Dr. Davis, because both of you are working on things that save lives. And if you take a look, unfortunately, at the mortality rate in our communities, it's substantially, for a number of reasons, but it's substantially higher than the rest of the population. And you two are providing solutions and outcomes that kind of help shift that. So number one, nice meeting both of you actually for the first time, the two of you for the first time, and it certainly won't be the last. So we'll be in touch offline with each of you, because there are things and connections, which is really part of what we do with this show. There are things and connections in organizations where the connectivity is really, really important, and the opportunity to exchange ideas and consolidate ideas is very important as well. And not only in Tampa, but along the very critical I-4 corridor as well.
Absolutely. And Dr. Davis, my mind is already thinking maybe our show on the go needs to be to come to one of their classes and we do the CPR, because you know what? There's this product now called, what is this now? AED. What's that acronym?
Yeah, AED, automatic electronic defibrillator.
Is that something that we can all have in our homes?
Yeah, of course. It's available on the market. One can buy. And I really
sign me up.
Well,
Dr. Davis?
Yeah, it can be available in your home. That cost though,
Yeah.
that price point is, it's, we all have disposable income, so.
Of course. It is a pretty penny. Trust me, I don't have one in my home.
I don't have one in my home.
Oh, y'all unsign me.
Yeah.
But it will be a great opportunity to actually do our show on the go and get that experience, because CPR, is there a special month for, or is it tied into Heart Health Month in February for CPR awareness?
As far as our class? Yeah.
No, just in general.
Oh, yeah. We when American Heart reached out to us, specifically Go Red for Women, we put that everywhere. And especially when people were coming into our classrooms, we were giving out everything. We were giving out pamphlets, we were giving out pens. We want to exercise everything that is important, that is sent out, right? And especially when I finally sat down with Kiani and we had a talk, she was like, listen, this is bigger than you can imagine. And trust me, after that Go Red luncheon, my mind was blown. So many people supporting there.
All right, well, I'm going to let Dr. Davis have final thoughts on that medical piece with the CPR. We will post your information, Salso, with our thank you post. We look forward to having a further conversation with you. But Dr. Davis, before you come on, Ricky, just to show you how genuine this young man is, today is his birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Salso. And we appreciate you spending your special time with us on the show, and then to share with us the importance of why you need to know, and if you can, be certified with CPR. Dr. Davis, we'll hear from you, then we'll come back to Sel, and then I'll give final thoughts and we'll wrap the show up.
All righty, so just kudos to you, Celso, for everything that you do to bring CPR and CPR awareness to our community. I actually did look that up in between chats there. There is a CPR Awareness Week, June 1st through 7th. And so just wanted to make us aware of that through my wonderful colleague and reference there, Google. But we absolutely want to give extra attention to CPR and CPR awareness this month in February. But might I also add that it's just as important in July, that is summer activity awareness month, even more so. Not more so, but it's equally as important because African-American children die from drowning at higher rates than other demographics. So I really appreciate you having us on. Shout out to Pisces, Celso. And if you would, I did not catch the phone number for CPR Express. Would you share that with us, please, again?
Of course. Our phone number is 813-551-9111. We did a little trick there at the end with the 911.
Yeah, 911.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis. And I'm so glad you brought that up about the summer, because one of the ambassadors that's part of our impact team is actually my niece, Latasha Glover. And when I was a first year nursing student, and we were here for the summer. And at one of the lakes, it was at that time it was called University Community Hospital. My mom worked there, and they had the summer picnic, and a current just took her out. And so obviously the paramedics all came, and I was there and got to participate and help with the CPR. And I think that was the first time it was real for me. And you're absolutely right. We will come back. Thanks for bringing that back to my remembrance, and make sure that we're putting that on, because it is very, very important. Very important. So we'll give you final thoughts. Vidal.
Yeah. Again, I want to thank everybody, especially for such the kind greetings that I've gotten today. This is amazing. I could not feel more special on my birthday. Thank you so much. I do want to share one little anecdote. Originally, the biggest thing, so I know a lot of people, they're like, where does your name come from? Where does Celso come from? And I think I have a little cool story about that and why I resonate with CPR and why it really sits with me. So my grandfather's name is Celso. And he's currently kicking, and we talk every day. But when my mom was pregnant, way back before I remember, he unfortunately had 3 really big heart attacks. And at the time, my mom, she was like, my father's my world, and I've got to continue his name. So she gave me his first name, Celso. And that story was always shared to me. And growing up, it didn't really, I was like, oh, that's an interesting story. But then when I started really taking CPR seriously, when I started learning more advanced things in CPR, more advanced medications, and I started to really look at statistics. And my family is Dominican. And honestly, you can look at my grandfather and you wouldn't be able to, you would think he's African American, right? And when I'm reading these statistics, and especially in Hispanics as well, such a high risk of heart attack, of cardiac disease, cardiac arrests, I really started to take it serious. This is someone that I idolize in my life. And thank God he hasn't had another heart attack since, but
Thank God.
It was a lot of serious changes, a lot of lifestyle changes, watching your numbers. That's a very big thing that I know you mentioned earlier. The doctors always tell them you must check all the time. Check your blood sugar levels, come in and check all your levels all the time. So with that piece, I advise everyone to always just keep in check with your health. Always stay in contact with your doctor. Make sure your levels are good, because it affects us. It affects us, especially at a disproportionate rate. But
it
thank you.
does. And thank you for such a beautiful story. Sal shared that story to me, and it just ties it all in, and the prevalence of cardiovascular disease and how it affects, especially Black and brown people. That's so very, very important. So as we begin to wrap up, again, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Dr. Davis. And I better say a shout out and happy birthday to my youngest son, Yannick Cusseaux. But we appreciate all of you. Thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. To the 1,000, listen, at one time, one of our shows, I think we had almost 2,000 viewers watching the show. And I think that was Ernest Hooper who gave us the highest rating of lunchtime viewers for one of our shows. And we've had people to contact us globally and tuned into the show. This is where Sherryl Cusseaux and the company says thank you for 4 amazing years. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating with us. Thank you for supporting us for our causes, our initiatives, and just sharing of information. I love you all. This week with the Heart Challenge is CPR awareness. Ricky, we will post that up. Please go on. We'll save the link, share the link with you, so that you can go. Dr. Davis has an easier one. It's Cheryl's heart. What is it, Dr. Davis? Anywho.
Hearts for Cheryl.
Hearts for Cheryl. It's a very easy one. But listen, to donate, you can text from your phone. TB for Tampa Bay, TB Sherryl, SHERRYL at 71777. This week, it ends Saturday. Listen, watch the CPR video. We will share that video on our post. Register to join the nominee. Register to participate in CPR and do the rest of the activities for us. We love you. We thank you. This show is a wrap.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.